What's going on, everybody? I want to give a huge shout out right now to Back Sports Page, Randy Zelia, for hooking us up with the opportunity. Welcome to a brand new podcast that is presented by Back Sports Page, the Trifecta. Joined with me, and who will be continuing to join me, are Tyrone and Ahmed. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? That intro is hard, man. It goes hard.
So to give
man.
to give everyone a little bit of a background, we've been trying to get this show going since the end of December, the beginning of January, in that time frame is since we've been trying to get this show on the road. So it's good to finally be here. First thing I want to say is we are not going to be your typical sports podcast. We are going to be talking about everything. We are not going to shy away from our opinions. We are going to attack every topic head on. So I'm going to turn it over to Ty.
Yeah, man, super excited to get into the show finally. It's been a while, long journey. I know a lot of my people have been waiting for, me to get my voice out there. Here you go. Promises delivered on that. Yesterday we had a really good Zoom call with the team, discussing, the events that's been happening since George Floyd's tragic passing by the hands of a police officer. That was pretty good because, not a lot of bosses, even though Randy doesn't like to be called a boss, not a lot of bosses give their, people opportunities to talk about such difficult topics on a, large platform. So shout outs to BSP for that.
Ahmed?
Yeah, I was gonna say just Ty, man. Like with what's going on right now, I definitely appreciate Randy, Bill, everybody we got in our crew. It's just really to be able to have that support. And I agree. Like that conversation we had yesterday is kind of the first step, and he said it needed to be had, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to kind of building off of it and just going from there, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be linking the conversation to my Facebook page after, we get done with the podcast. So check it out when you have free time.
Absolutely. And you guys can also find the link on my Facebook. It's on YouTube. Make sure you're following Back Sports Page on every social media platform. We got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have it all. Make sure you're checking out the great things we have going up on Back Sports Page. So let's dive right into it.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the NFL players that are joining the Black Lives Matter movement. As you guys can see, I'm wearing a Stephon Gilmore Patriots jersey. A bunch of players, or big name players, I guess you could say. We got players ranging from Patrick Mahomes, Ezekiel Elliott, Stephon Gilmore. We have so many players that came together and made this incredible video to fight racial injustice, to join the side of the Black Lives Matter movement. And it was a very, very powerful video. You could hear the sadness and the hurt that these guys feel on a daily basis, knowing that they are looked at on a higher pedestal, but people of their color are still being treated unjustly. And it must hurt them knowing that they have fans out there who aren't on their side.
Yeah, I think what the great part about the video that I got from the video is that, they were finally able to use their platform. The NFL, they're not a players league. They haven't been a players league for a long time, and, they don't want their people to speak out on political issues. But the great thing that I got from that video is that they got a chance to connect with their audience, right? They got a chance to not, only shut up and dribble as, one, news anchor told LeBron to do. They actually got a chance to, have their voice heard, which is amazing.
Yeah, and, which I guess will lead to the next point is Roger Goodell came out and issued a second apology regarding how the NFL handled the peaceful protests that went on when Colin Kaepernick was still in the league. I listened to his statement, I listened to his apology, and he has still yet to even acknowledge the fact that what they did to Kaepernick was wrong. He didn't reference him at all. He didn't even consider apologizing to him. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, until we hear that apology from Goodell, specifically to Colin Kaepernick, I don't think it holds much weight.
For me, it's gonna have to do more than an apology, man. He's gonna have to. What I would like to see Colin Kaepernick hired to work alongside Jay-Z. They created this position for Jay-Z last year. That's kind of like, I hate to say it, but as a diversity hire, to handle issues within the communities. But I would like to see them extend that hand out to Colin Kaepernick as well, so he could, continue to impact not only the community that he wants to impact, but also impact changes with inside the NFL itself. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, the NFL is the least progressive league amongst professional sports out there. So Goodell's gonna have to do more than not sorry for me.
No, I 100% agree with that. What do you think, Ahmed?
I mean, I think it's good. Like you guys said, like it definitely is not enough. I would actually tie it back to that video of the players stuff. And I know Ty, you mentioned like the NFL is the least progressive league, and I think at the very least, like tying these things together, you look at the NBA, for example, it is considered a players' league, and so I think tie in between these two things is that we can start heading in that direction. We always argue that like the commissioner's not doing it. There have been so many issues over the years, that have been just completely against the players. Obviously, Kaepernick is the biggest one. And so my thoughts are that with what's happening, with the players uniting, with, like you said, Jay-Z, with making a difference in the communities, I think that's what we can start with, and that's what we can, go from. Because it's one thing to go, all right, we can't, why is the NFL so lacking obvious things, like really clear, and hopefully this could be the first step to them just get the ball rolling on like obvious things, trying to catch up with the NBA. That's really what they're doing right now.
Yeah, man, you hit it on the head. I actually would like to see Goodell reach out to Adam Silver, ask him, how did he go about transitioning the league to become a players league. I would like him to kind of, reach out to these figures that, their sports are more progressive than the NFL, because right now the NFL isn't doing it. Like, I think Goodell could do more with, the Rooney Rule. Like they just updated the Rooney Rule, but I would like to just see them really push hard to get, some black and brown faces into ownership positions, because until that happens, much like, with United States having to vote and change their leadership, I think the NFL needs to shake that up a bit. There's been a lot of old white guys in power for way too long. I think they need to have that step forward and, really change the game.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point that both of you brought up. And I think what we do need to start seeing in the NFL as well is more players speaking up as well. We don't see enough of that. We see it all the time in the NBA. This one's holding out until this happens. This one and the coach aren't getting along. We don't see that a lot in the NFL. And I genuinely believe that if more athletes started speaking up, I think, again, just with anything else, as you see with the protests going on, speaking up works. And so I feel to get to the point that we would like to see the NFL at, I think some of the players need to start speaking up.
Well, the great thing is they're not afraid of that muzzle that's been around their mouths for a long time, which is the league itself. You know, with Goodell saying, we, believe in the protest. I guess that gives the players more power to actually speak up, which might have how do I say it? Which might have pushed the issue on getting that video out, right?
Right.
The BLM video. They're probably like, well, since Goodell's cool with it, we can talk now, And they came up with that amazing video, and of course they had to make the most iconic, like, I guess as far as connecting with the people. Odell be the finishing statement in that video, which is great.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think that anybody who watched that video and anybody who sees that video in the future, even 10, 15 years from now, when this is hopefully all over and, people are going back and they see that video, I think it's really going to bring an impact on just how big this whole thing is. And again, back to my earlier point with how many fans do they have that watch them on a weekly basis that don't support them. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's just a giant slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll point out in the NBA is when you think, for example, Golden State Warriors, you think Steph Curry. When you think Lakers, you think whoever, like LeBron, Kobe. You kind of you become a fan of a player. There are teams in football that might be really, really good. Like I'll give you an example. The San Francisco 49ers last year made the Super Bowl, and I guess you quarterback is, but it was a team sport. That I think I wouldn't be surprised if until they got to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised if people didn't know Raheem Mostert or Deebo Samuel. I'm sure people didn't know these names, but these guys were prominent. Like we're in the big game in the sport, and so that's, I think, like another hopefully beneficial to this video is the idea that like these players who are already kind of more popular and getting more and more support, the hope is that they get even somewhat close to like NBA stardom. The idea that you could start rooting for Odell Beckham at the Cleveland Browns, the idea you can start rooting for DeAndre Hopkins and the Arizona Cardinals if you're a fan of the Arizona Cardinals. And so I think that's what we're hoping for, is that empowerment, that play, because players typically haven't had that much power. If you see a holdout for especially running back, just to point out specific positions, it's extremely expendable, and you look at that kind of, and like, oh, okay, you want to hold out? We'll get someone who's cheaper than you, younger. That's been the stance. All we can ask for is that there's some sort of leverage or some sort of in between. Yeah.
No, and that's a great point that you brought up about in basketball being a fan of a specific player, and then in football you're a fan of a team. I've never seen people in any other sport root for somebody who switches teams, right? How many people are fans of KD when he was on the Thunder, when he's on the Warriors, now he's on the Nets, right? How many fans of Kyrie Irving? He was on the Cavs, he was on the Celtics, now he's on the Nets, right? That's one of the beautiful things about basketball, in my opinion, is that you don't have to root for a team. You can root for a player. And yes, basketball is a team sport 100% of the way, but it can also be led by a single player. Yeah, obviously 5 against 1, the 5 are always going to win, but it's 5 on 5 with one superstar. chances are that superstar is going to, steal the show. And I mean, as much as I am a Celtics fan, it hurt a few years ago when LeBron single-handedly wrecked us. And, and I'm sorry to kind of go off track here, but it really bothered me when, they recorded the locker room after they won the Eastern Conference Finals, and J.R. Smith and, whoever else are in the locker room partying it up, and LeBron's sitting there with ice packs on his back and his legs and his arms, and like he's soaking his legs in the ice bucket. It's like, come on, you guys didn't do anything. But that is a great point. And back to what we were talking about, you can't really do that in the NFL, right? I can't sit here and be like, I'm just a fan of Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I love the kid. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. But just because he is a phenomenal quarterback doesn't mean that he may have the same success without that same cast in Kansas City.
I don't know, man. Like, he probably won't have the same success, but, as far as, faces of the league, not all players are created equal, right? Quarterbacks, they have that NBA level stardom. They can reach that NBA level of, stardom, their fans traveling with them. Like, LeBron's fans travel with him. But the real issue is the in the trenches, nitty gritty players, like players that like Shifa said, Ahmed said about expendable running backs. I think that's what the game needs. Those are the players that the game needs to uphold and kind of push up a little bit, because quarterbacks have everything catered to them as far in that regard.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes probably wasn't the best example, but I think you guys understood what I was trying to go for.
Yes, sir.
You're able to, in football, it's not as easy to root for a single player as it is in the NBA.
Yes, sir.
But that's going to bring us to our next point. A lot of people single-handedly were rooting for Drew Brees. A ton of people love the guy, or now past tense, loved him. And to be fair, when you think of the greatest to ever do it in the football league, to be one of the best quarterbacks, you think of Drew Brees, all the records he broke, that the fact that he's still playing. He's incredible. He's one of the best to ever do it. But he made some very controversial comments regarding, the Black Lives Matter movement. He made a very insensitive comment saying that it's disrespectful to kneel for the flag. And Tyrone brought up a great point on the video that he referenced at the beginning of the show, the one that we recorded as a team of Back Sports page. And to steal the words out of Tyrone's mouth, the flag is a broken symbol. And so the feedback that Drew Brees got was incredibly negative. A lot of players were calling him ignorant or calling him out, saying that he's uneducated. And even his team members were his teammates, the guys that he's going to be in the locker room with for 16, 17 games plus the postseason, calling him out for his comments. And I feel like it creates a rift in that locker room.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about, the whole Breeze debacle, is that he plays for a team that is in a blue city that is located within a red state, right? Having family from New Orleans and going to New Orleans a lot, it's kind of like the city is its own entity, right? And I just kind of thought that I couldn't believe how insensitive to the issue that Drew Brees was, because he does community work. He's in his community a lot, and New Orleans for a while is a city that had to go through a lot of ups and downs, and it's a very resilient city. So to kind of see him say that statement, it was like, wow, were you actually in the community when you said you were? Like, or was it just for NFL cares? You feel me? And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. But I would like to see Drew Brees, take more responsibility as far as immersing himself back into his community for the team that he plays for. Because I guarantee you, if he was walking not only foot for foot with his teammates, but foot for foot for his city, I don't think he would have made such comments, right? I think he would have been more culturally aware, I should say, not make those comments because that's it's pretty much how the guy feels, or felt. We don't know. He issued that apology. I would like to see his teammates kind of give them a glimpse of their life and how they have to raise their children, right? Because Drew Brees is the number one dad of the league to me by far because his kids are always around. I would like him, babysit his teammates' kids for like a day or so just to see, walk them out in their shoes type thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead,
I would
Ahmed.
have. Okay, yes, I was gonna say I agree with a lot of like the points you're making of, like that relatability factor. Because I'm sure when Drew Brees said it, like I like to think that knowing him and his background and all of what you're saying, that he kind of
Mm-hmm.
deserves some benefit of the doubt. At the same time, it's on him to also just be aware
Educate
of
himself.
the reality and what's going on. And it's just exactly, yeah, it's just like he missed the point of what's happening. It doesn't make him a bad guy. It doesn't mean he's this insensitive jerk. It just means he missed the point. And find the way for him, find his way to just connect like with the community, like you said, the NFL's number one dad. I guess I could agree with that, and I think that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, um, of course, he's gonna get a lot of back, rightfully so. It's good to see. I think Michael Thomas
Mm-hmm.
forgave him, his number one
That's
receiver, like hanging out in
that's
off season, have a really good relationship. Um, exactly, exactly. Um, that's really it. Like that's the beauty of this thing. If it was anybody but Breeze, uh, I don't know. I think it'd be a lot more contentious. I think it'd be a lot more contradictory. Uh, so it's good. It's good that he kind of recognized that, and hopefully we'll just look back a month from now and be like, "Oh, he said this crazy thing, and he didn't realize what he was saying." And then that's it. We move on.
To a point, I will agree with that. But how often do we see things like this happen with people who have a status, people who are in that upper echelon of names, where something negative does hit them and something negative does, come out of their mouth or they do something controversial, and then you hear a couple days later, "Oh, I'm sorry," just so everyone forgets about it, right? How often do you see that? Personally, to me, the only person who came out and issued an acceptance for his apology was Michael Thomas.
Mm.
Now, I feel as though Michael Thomas only accepted the apology just to make himself look better. Not in a bad way, but I don't know if Michael Thomas can actually just forgive somebody for that type of comment. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's probably saying that so they can just get out onto the football field, they can play, but I don't know if he holds any merit on that, accepting that apology.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because Michael Thomas, he's been documented, and his story's been documented, and he grew up in that type of forgiving environment, with like what he said at the ending of his statement was that's what Christians do. Let's play ball, and it kind of was an homage to how he grew up. I don't think he wants to hold that grudge, right? It's his quarterback. And I think he wants to help Drew Brees kind of understand the issue because Drew Brees showed that he doesn't understand, you know. And I don't think that he did it for, you know, popularity points or to make himself look good. I just think that's how he was brought up. He was raised, and it doesn't help the issue to hold the grudge, right? The whole point for the protests and everything is for everybody to kind of find this common ground to where they can finally conversate about, you know, things like this. So yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And I am hoping that you guys are correct, and I hope that it is Michael Thomas being a bigger person and being able to accept that. But to get kind of not shy away from it, but to talk about a little bit of lighter news, I guess we could talk about. Let's talk about the return of the NBA. It has been a very, very long 2 to 3 months without sports.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm excited for the return of the NBA, but I do want to stress that I hope this isn't the Roman Coliseum trick, right? You know, you kind of distract the populace with sports. So I just hope that more activism comes from it and we don't get distracted from what's going on right now.
That's a good point. Uh, I mean, while I do agree that I do hope that it isn't it used as a distraction, I on the other hand think that a lot of people could use a distraction right about now. You know, obviously we can't stop fighting for what's right. We can't, like I said in that call, we can't take our foot off the gas of the largest civil rights movement in history. But I think it's healthy for people to once, a couple times a week, instead of turning on the news and seeing all the negativity, seeing everything that's happening and what the media is trying to portray to us, rather than being able to just, flip on a Celtics game or a Chicago Bulls game or whatever. So I think while it shouldn't be used as a distraction, I think a distraction would be useful.
Shifa, you got anything to say, man?
I'm just excited. I'm just excited to see the playoffs. The NBA is going to be 8 more games, and then I can't wait to see what they do, how it works. I'm excited for the new format. Uh, I would just go all Lakers, but I'm honestly just excited to see in both conferences. I'm really curious to see how that first round. I feel the first time in years. We're gonna have like exciting basketball, like every year of the playoffs. And to
Mm.
your point, Jared, like I agree. I hope, I really hope that this is not meant to as some sort of distraction. I just think at the end of the day, the point of sports is to be maybe not so much a distraction, but a welcome escape from reality, so to speak. So as long as we're cognizant of what's going on around us and we continue to have peaceful protests, we continue to be more active and find ways to connect with each other and make a positive difference. At the end of the day, that's really the point of sports too. Um, and so as long as we know that, I think I'm just excited for the NBA. There you go.
Absolutely. Well, for what it's worth, I want to say thank you guys. Um, Eventually, we are going to be extending these episodes to an hour long, but we're going to be cutting it at 30 minutes today. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Tyrone, a huge shout out to Ahmed. You guys can follow us at Backsports page. We are the Trifecta. You can find me at journalistj0 on Twitter. Ahmed, where can everyone find you?
My boy's lagging, man.
Yeah, he is. Ty, what about you? Where can people find
I'm so
you?
sorry, man. There's been so much lag on this call. You can find me on Twitter at ashifa1194. And also on Instagram at Ahmed Shifa298.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Twitter at TYEE_3. You can find me on Instagram at Ty_Talk Sports. Chicago's finest, of course. Tyrone Stallworth signing out.
Absolutely. And again, you guys, every week we'll be back here on Friday nights at 8 p.m. So please check us out, keep following, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.